Welcome. 116th Congress. We're going to look at strategies to improve the U.S. maritime and shipbuilding industry. It's an honor to chair this crucial subcommittee. Look forward to working alongside our maritime community, including the Coast Guard. The subcommittee on Coast Guard and Maritime Transportation and its predecessors has been around in one form or another throughout the history of our country, supporting all of our maritime activities. I'm privileged to assume the mantle of responsibility. I look forward to working in a genuine bipartisan manner with all of my colleagues on the other side of the aisle, with Ranking Member Gibbs, so we can write a new productive chapter in this subcommittee's history. And I really mean that, and I really want to run this committee in a way that is bipartisan and that is participatory. So thank you, gentlemen, for being here this morning. Before we begin, I want to take a moment to recognize and thank the members of the Coast Guard in particular for their actions during the recent government shutdown. For the first time in our nation's history, members of an armed service force were not paid due to a lapse in appropriations. That was unacceptable and something we cannot allow to occur again. To the men and the women of the Coast Guard, you deserve an apology from your government for what we put you through. And I, for one, am happy to deliver it. I don't think it's productive to get into a blame game here, except to say we appreciate you, we appreciate your service, and we should not have put you in that position. And I know a lot of us are committed to never doing so again. And we have some ideas on that as well. I also want to remember, in particular, Chief Warrant Officer Michael Kozlowski, a Coast Guard member who died in a tragic accident while on duty in January in Alaska. Mike Kozlowski dedicated his entire adult life to protecting our country as a member of the Coast Guard, and his service will not be forgotten. Our thoughts go out to his wife, Bree, and to his children. And I want to thank in particular Admiral Schultz, the Commandant, for joining me at the funeral in Mahopac, New York. It was not just Mike's hometown, it's in my district. It's about 10 miles from where I live. So we felt that loss in the Hudson Valley. It was close to home. So we appreciate Mike and his family. We lift them up in our prayers. And again, thank you to all of the members of Coast Guard who tended that beautiful service. It was really a wonderful opportunity for me to see firsthand that the Coast Guard works as a family. And we should act as members of your family on this committee, even as we ask tough questions and do our jobs. Now, of course, one cannot overstate the importance of our nation's maritime industry. Every year, over $4.6 trillion worth of commerce flows through our maritime transportation system, and it's rapidly becoming more complex. Increases in the amount of cargo being shipped and the size of the vessels carrying that cargo challenge the industry and agencies responsible for its oversight. Similarly, new technologies are moving the industry forward while also creating new vulnerabilities and challenges that must be addressed. So my hope is that this hearing will begin a dialogue to identify constructive, pragmatic strategies to protect, enhance, and expand the U.S. maritime and shipbuilding industries. Since 1789, Congress has passed laws to help keep the U.S. merchant marine competitive in the global economy and to maintain a military sea lift and shipyard industrial capacity necessary to ensure our national security. Durable maritime statutes, such as the Jones Act, Cargo Preference, and the Maritime Loan Guarantee Program, have been supplemented by new program authorities, such as the Maritime Security Program, Small Shipyard Grant Program, and the Military to Mariner Initiative. The Jones Act first came into effect as part of the Merchant Marine Act of 1920 to encourage the development of a strong merchant marine for both national defense and economic security. The Jones Act requires that merchandise and passengers being transported by water between 2 points in the United States must travel on vessels that are built in the U.S., owned and manned by U.S. citizens, and registered or flagged in the United States with an endorsement by the Coast Guard to participate in the coastwise trade. 91 United Nations member states have similar laws to the Jones Act, which are called cabotage laws. Some maritime nations are expanding the scope of their cabotage laws despite the proliferation of global free trade agreements. For example, last year Russia enacted a law requiring that all domestic and international shipments of oil, natural gas, gas condensate, and coal extracted from Russian territory and loaded on vessels along the North Sea route must be carried by Russian-flagged ships. Despite other countries' cabotage laws, some free trade critics continue to attack the Jones Act as unnecessary or unhelpful to the U.S. economy, but we cannot become complacent in our defense of the Jones Act, which remains a critical component of U.S. maritime strategy. Another critical component of that strategy is the U.S. Merchant Marine, the fleet of U.S.-flagged commercial vessels and civilian mariners that carry goods to and from, as well as within, the United States. These vessels are operated by U.S. licensed deck and engineering officers and unlicensed seafarers A significant portion of U.S. mariners are nearing retirement age, revealing a potential future shortage of available and experienced maritime professionals that could impact military sea lift and weaken U.S. Maritime commerce. A point I expect Admiral Busby will make today. Maritime stakeholders are aware of this looming workforce attrition and have expressed concern that more should be done now to expand this highly trained, dedicated, and proficient labor pool by any means necessary. So it's imperative that we examine every opportunity to grow and diversify the U.S. Mariner workforce, including making it easier for separating military members to enter the maritime workforce and identifying ways we might better leverage the capabilities of state maritime academies. In addition to facilitating commerce in times of peace and war, the U.S. Merchant Marine acts as a naval auxiliary to deliver troops and war material to military operations abroad. Throughout our history, the Army has relied on U.S. flagged commercial vessels to carry weapons and supplies and ferry troops to the battlefield. During Operations Enduring Freedom and Iraqi Freedom, U.S. flagged commercial vessels transported 90% of sustainment cargoes moved to Afghanistan and Iraq. That is an extraordinary number. But the U.S. flag fleet in the foreign trade has shrunken to the point that it is a remnant of what it was just. We must do more to address the competitive imbalance that exists between vessels operating under the U.S. flag with vessels operating under foreign flags of convenience. Additionally, we must do more to generate new cargo. Cargo is the lifeblood of the maritime industry. Without more cargo, there's no need to build more ships. And without new ships, there's little need to hire more mariners. I would like to learn more about what options or strategies we might consider to address these two fundamental challenges to the security and success of the U.S. maritime industry. So we are joined here today by experts from the U.S. Coast Guard and the Maritime Administration, as well as professionals from many sectors of the maritime industry. Welcome to one and all. We appreciate your being here. I look forward to hearing from you on how we might strengthen this indispensable sector of the U.S. economy. I'd like now to call on the ranking member of the subcommittee, Mr. Gibbs, for any opening remarks.
Thank you, Chairman Maloney. First off, procedural question. Representative Garrett Graves from Louisiana, I just request that you ask Nancy consent that he can sit in.